and assuming you guys are correct, what sort of philosophical way do you approach life? I mean, you don't, you're going to cast away the Ten Commandments and some other things.
No. It happens. It just does so happen that several of the Ten Commandments are reasonably good advice. Just because somebody is an atheist doesn't mean that anything that some religion has claimed for its own is therefore something we reject just because it's got a religion label attached to it. Like, I'm all in favor of not killing. I think that's a fine piece of advice, but not because any religion said so.
Well,
just to clarify.
The Christian church has been working on the Bible for probably 500 or 600 years before it kind of got into the King James Version.
Right.
And I just wondered if there's some set of folks in the atheist community that is working on something similar, so that somebody that doesn't believe in God has some sort of reasonable way that they can organize their life.
All right. Well, there's actually a couple of things here. First of all, is there a set of rules, or is there a philosophy that all atheists can follow? And the second thing is, what about us, personally? The answer to the first question would be nope. The thing is, there's a basic difference between atheism and religion, which is atheism, which is not a religion, doesn't have tenets, basically. There are all kinds of atheists. There are some people called the Raelians that I like to bring up. They technically do not believe in God, but they believe in aliens from outer space who wrote something which eventually got sort of turned into the Bible, and they sort of pigeonholed different portions of the Bible and explain it via aliens. Technically, those people are atheists. I don't agree with a thing that they think, nearly.
Well, one thing.
But they're atheists. I know atheists of all different political and philosophical stripes. I actually happen to be comfortable calling myself a humanist, for instance, which means that the most important values are those that make people happy. But I know atheists who are downright misanthropes and just don't like other people. Atheism is just a lack of belief in God. It's nothing else. The rest is kind of up to you. There's no atheist church. There's no atheist pope. And you can't really get atheists to agree to one particular set of guidelines because they're all coming at atheism from different angles in their life. Now, the other thing would, of course, be speaking for myself. And I know that Jeff and I probably share fairly similar views on this sort of thing. I do think that I like being comfortable, happy, and having fun. And by extension and by empathy, I understand that the rest of the people, the rest of the 6 billion people who also live in this world, also generally want to be comfortable, happy, and having fun. Anything that I can do to enjoy myself and not get in the way of other people enjoying themselves can be seen as something that's a worthy goal that I should work towards. That doesn't mean that I'm selfish or a hedonist, because one of the ways that I make myself comfortable, happy, and having fun is by loving my family, by raising my kids, by doing good work and reaching out to other people, and being involved in politics and hopefully working with, trying to figure out what kind of system maximizes people's happiness.
Sounds like a kind of a long-winded explanation of the golden rule, right?
The golden rule is a good rule of thumb. Wasn't original to Jesus.
Well, yeah, okay. So, but it's still a pretty good rule.
Can I give you my response, I think it'll be a little less long than Russell's.
It's my last day as host. Give me a break.
Fair enough. I mean, there is a very important thing in what you're asking, Jack, which is, it's still a good. There's even okay. If one does not accept some supposedly divinely inspired set of instructions on how to live, one still has to live. And presumably there are good ways to do that. Good in a secular sense of productive, helpful, and rewarding ways to live. And then there are ways that are not good, not productive, not helpful. Russell was right in saying there is no one atheist ideology about how you should live, except for the understanding that good instructions on how to live, effective instructions on how to have a decent life, don't come from ancient books supposedly penned by invisible men in the sky. There are a couple of examples that I can point out if you're interested in seeing what various different non-believers have said about this. There is a guy named Dan Barker who is an ex-Christian minister. He has a couple of children's books out addressing this question because, of course, that's when you're young is when you need to learn these things. One book is called, and I think I've got the titles correct. I might be a little off on these. I think the first one is Maybe Yes, Maybe No. It's a book about critical thinking. It's how to make good, rational decisions. And the other one is Maybe Right, Maybe Wrong, which is about morality. And that's more directly in response to your question.
And those are both excellent books, even if you're not a child. If you're interested at all in the atheist viewpoint, you could do worse than picking up those two books.
Maybe Right, Maybe Wrong approaches morality from the standpoint of principles, not rules. It's because in real life there are moral dilemmas. Moral dilemmas are real. They're not. When you're in a moral dilemma, it doesn't mean you don't know what the one perfect rule is that you ought to follow. When you're in a moral dilemma, it means there's two things that are so closely good or so closely bad that it's really, really hard to make a good decision. And so that book, Maybe Right, Maybe Wrong, explores the issue of moral principles and how you come to understand, how to come to look at the world in terms of principles, and how you deal with the fact that sometimes there are just going to be tragic conflicts. Another place that I hesitate to mention because certain brands of Christians have labeled these people the Antichrist, and But who's going to believe them? There is an organization called the Council for Secular Humanism, and secular humanism is a philosophical view that the way people need to live is by figuring out how to get along as human beings. They have put out a document called the Humanist Manifesto, which talks about what humanist principles are, and there are a number of other books addressing that, and it's all about how to get along with your fellow human beings in light of not believing that there's some God telling you how to be. Does that help?
Yeah. Can I ask you one more question?
Actually, personally, we're out of time.
Okay.
You can email us, but I want to thank you for calling because that was an interesting topic, and I could have thought of worse ways to spend my last 10 minutes as the host.
Thanks, Jack.